Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're having a good new year or year, first month of the year. Hope it's a big one, and let's make it a big one. This is Live Gene speaking, and this will be a series of shows, many shows, hopefully, that will be dealing with many, many themes, many aspects of today's life that involve everyone, basically. Maybe not, may not interest everyone, but do involve everyone. Basically, because after researching and doing, questioning some things as a normal person in society and living today in a city, studying and, working and whatever you have to do to live and go on, I, kind of fished some interests out there, and some of these interests involve, what things that people you don't usually question or people don't usually pay attention to. Why? There are many reasons why. I mean, some people may not have time, some people may just not be interested, but what this show is about is just trying to get people interested and people thinking in new ways and in new directions. This, I think, is needed, and I hopefully many more people think is needed. I know many more do, for many reasons. First of all, because looking at the state the world is in today, especially society, Western society, and not only Western society, actually the whole thing is kind of messy. Not that it hasn't been messy throughout history, just that today we are living in a special time. It's special because never before has the planet seen so many people on its surface. Never before have we been so connected by the internet, phone lines, whatever. And never before have we had so many knowledge, so much knowledge and so many tools to actually create and realize what we think and what we imagine. So we actually have a lot of opportunities in today's world, but that goes hand in hand with responsibility. And responsibility, let's not forget, is not necessarily a bad or negative thing or a heavy thing, or it doesn't have to be a load. It just means that we have the choice to apply our energy or intention or abilities in A or B, and that depends on how we apply. A consequence or a result is going to come out of it. The difference between before and now is that now we actually can impact much more than we could before. Before, you see, civilization, as it grew, well, the way we know it is that it was never that big. I mean, it grew out to have some incredible knowledge, don't get me wrong, and there were societies that were really advanced, but they were not unbalanced with the natural order of things. So I'm going to begin by saying that, first of all, hi, and thanks for listening. And we are all part of a system, and we as human beings are thinking human beings, are physical human beings, are emotional human beings, but the point is we are at a basic level people living and eating and trying to get around and get through life by eating and working and reproducing and having a good time and a bad time too. But what does this all involve? Well, today's society, as it's grown so much, kind of let loose all of its desires and all of its potential in a certain way. By potential, I mean we used our technology, our knowledge to create a massive society. We can actually acquire many things even from other parts of the world. We have a way of life, quality of life, in the sense that there's so much we can get a hand over, and things like that now that we couldn't before. So before, we didn't have actually the ability to cause too much damage outside of ourselves or our neighbors. Now, however, we actually have grown to a point where we are actually affecting other things to let's see this as a system. A system is something that involves many separate entities, and each one has a particular function and interrelates and interacts with the others, so that the whole system can survive and grow and prosper, or decay and degrade and disappear. So depending on how each entity acts upon its function, the system will either grow or it will disappear. So what are we doing today? I mean, if you look at the natural world, because even if we are in society and living in cities and urban areas and we don't have that much contact with the natural world outside, that doesn't mean that all we get in the city and all we need to survive in the city comes from the natural world. It always has been this way, and I suspect it always will be, at least for a few centuries. So we have to be careful. The thing before is that we always remain connected. Humanity always remained connected in one way or another with nature, because they had certain supplies they had to produce for that year's consumption, and they had to leave something, or plant again or produce for next year so they could have enough. Thing is, today's society has kind of forgotten this, because it, in an maybe voluntary and involuntary way, both has people have been clustered into cities, and the way of life is not connected to nature anymore. This might sound cliche maybe, but the point to it is really not cliche. It's realistic and maybe scientific, and why not even spiritual or intellectual. So as a result of disconnecting from nature, we don't know what the effect of our way of life is on nature. If we went outside of the city, and we can do this through the internet and through documentaries and movies, we would actually see that we are consuming much of the planet's resources, and most of it is done in an unmeasured way and unrespectful way, frankly. And if every one of us actually saw what consequences are doing, so we would actually stop doing so many things and be conscious about it. But this is about for those people that don't have any means of going outside, or haven't had the interest or the opportunity to do so. At least I'm gonna share with you some facts and information that might change your point of view on it, and hopefully it might lead you or inspire you to do your own changes, not the same changes that other people make necessarily, but your own changes, so that we can actually improve our situation mostly for future generations. Because until we get slapped in the face, many people don't actually understand, and that's not that they're it's not that they don't have the capacity to, it's just that they haven't been taught to, and maybe they don't have even time to, or something. So let's start by explaining, the system of the natural world from which we have always lived and lived from is a system that, as I said, depends on many entities. Call them, the little animals and plants in a forest, or as a whole, the forest itself, and the seas, and the atmosphere, and the deserts, and the winds, and the oceanic currents, and all of them have a specific function. Remember that in nature there's no political frontiers. There's no, if one country's poor and the other's rich, it's all okay. In nature, everyone has to have a certain share of things, and has to have a certain balance in order for other things to work too. So nature has no frontiers. So what we do in the United States or in Mexico affects Asia too. It's all interrelated, interconnected. For example, a tree grows on, it grows, then the leaves fall off, the wood falls off, it decays. That produces microorganisms, minerals, with a mixture of water. The moisture, actually, the tree absorbs the moisture from the atmosphere, and that moisture will actually be released again to correlate the rain seasons and make fruit grow. But anyway, the tree has moisture, so that moisture also, the mixture of all these elements, let's say, is the key to producing life. Because soil, the soil I grew my food from, and Marcus grow the food on, is fertile soil that works thanks to all these organisms working together. Also, trees store carbon. So carbon is carbon. If it wasn't stored by trees, it would be pretty toxic for human lungs, But carbon is actually stored by forests, by trees, under the roots, under the ground, and has been for millions of years. Every forest you can see actually has been storing carbon for really millions of years. So we don't realize. We think, global warming and all this is cars and planes, and it's all machines and industry. It is part of it, but actually cars and planes and machines and boats and stuff only account for less than 3% of CO2 emissions. So we don't know actually that most of if we cut forests like we're cutting them down, that's where most of the carbon and toxic gases elements are going to come from, into the atmosphere, and this can really affect us. So We actually don't know how much we're cutting, how much woods and jungles we're cutting. But the Amazon rainforest, for example, maybe you didn't know, but it produces 20% of the world's oxygen. That's what they call it, a world lung. And in the last 40 years, 20% has disappeared. And this is amazing because it's a really big place. And imagine, it's not all about the trees. Imagine how many life forms actually inhabit there. I mean, life forms that go from, insects to animals just like your dog or your cat, or to even people that live over there. And then people are left with, dirty waters and no trees and whatever, and they have to move into the cities. And since they have to move into the cities grow bigger and bigger, and they don't know they don't have a system to withhold everything. So what happens is that more food has to be produced, more materials have to be taken out of the natural resources to supply whatever people in the cities want or need. So it's like a vicious circle in some way. But as long as we don't investigate or at least know about it, we're gonna keep on doing it. Just like a child, he likes candy. I mean, we all like candy, I like candy, and if you gave a child a candy, he would go on eating candy until you had to put a stop to him or just limit his supply. So human society has been taught to act like a child in that way, most of us, because we just like buy and do whatever we're taught to do, or whatever people do, and we consume candy, and we don't have like a teacher or a parent that goes like, okay, you have to stop now. That actually usually comes when we get a slap in the face, and a slap in the face is not what we want right now, because it probably will hurt. They usually hurt. For example, I mean, I don't know, most forests are actually not even used. Eucalyptus forests are actually used for making paper, and they cut forests down just to plant eucalyptus forests for paper. But these forests don't produce life because it's only one type of tree, and forests need many types of things, of living organisms to live. Yeah, so that's one point of it. And then most of the cutting is done for livestock farming, and for farming itself, agriculture. As far as livestock goes, well, it's a waste. I'll go into this in another show because there's so much information about livestock, pigs, cows, every kind of animal that we actually use. They eat up most of our grain, which is produced in agriculture, and just for meat and that kind of product. On the other hand, there's a palm oil industry. We think it's harmless, but they cut down trees just to, plant palm trees, and it's just an industry to make cosmetics, to make shampoos, and all that kind of, healthcare and whatever. And the thing is, we don't realize that they actually cut down these things to produce it. So many things that we buy have all these kinds of industry processes in them. And industry, let's remember, it's about making money first of all, because it moves the economy, and then it's just learning. Modern industry is just learning how to make itself sustainable and do things in a sustainable way.